Rumors are that allegedly Nene is ready to call in a huge favor from this particular housewife. But will that housewife be willing to listen? I have some new information that may answer that question and more right after this. What's up, kinfolk, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, do me a favor and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, do me a favor and get notified so you'll know whenever I upload new videos to the channel. Alright, kinfolk, come on into the house. We have a lot to talk about, and it centers around rumors that allegedly Nene is ready to call in a big favor from this particular housewife. But will the housewife be willing to listen? I have some new information that may answer that question and more, and here it goes. Rumors are that allegedly neneleakes team is preparing for her and her big comeback. Now, with the Bravo lawsuit behind her, Nene is rumored to be ready to make a serious play for her old job. Industry insiders feel that Nene is desperately missing her glory days as the star housewife on Real Housewives of Atlanta. One source said, "I believe she misses the limelight and attention being on Real Housewives of Atlanta and what it brought her. Everyone knows her face and name. However, to remain culturally relevant in pop culture and in the Bravo universe, she needs to have a weekly presence on the network and with the show. Also, it can be a money thing." Another source said, "Nene's Bravo check was very lucrative for very little effort. It was probably the easiest check she received in her entire career. Also, having the guaranteed money was definitely security and validation that she was doing something right. Plus, being on the show gave her more opportunities to advance her acting career, something sources say she is ready to get back to. So, the question is, what is her big plan to regain her glory days and her peach on Real Housewives of Atlanta? Well, sources say, allegedly, Nene has been advised by her team to give her former frenemy, Kenya Moore, a call. Now, what can Kenya do? Industry insiders said that Nene may feel encouraged to call Kenya after Kenya extended an olive branch to her during bravocon. In return, Nene named Kenya as part of her dream cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Insiders say that this may have been the sign that Nene's fans have been looking for. If Kenya can convince the majority of the cast to accept Nene back, then there may be some hope. But how is the network currently feeling about Nene? Sources say pretty much the same as they were allegedly feeling back in the summer. Nene is a liability and a risky player in the Bravo universe. There were rumors, said the source, that Nene had allegedly received her own spinoff in the lawsuit negotiation settlements with the network. However, no such deal has been made public, and it seems unlikely to happen anytime soon, ended the source. So, for now, it appears Nene may be left trying to get back on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Can a call to Kenya really help her efforts? Asked the source. Her name is not in a good place with production, and I doubt Kenya would use her pull and favors to get Nene back. Would it be good TV? Yes, but would it be worth it? Besides, Kenya is a very smart woman. She can sense when she's being used. Now, kinfolk, when I heard this rumor over the weekend that Nene was serious about making a play for her old job back at Real Housewives of Atlanta, I wasn't so surprised. And I wasn't so surprised because of this. Nene selling that lawsuit so abruptly really showed me that she was wanting to get back on the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise. And as my sources were saying, it was probably for several reasons. First reason being, I really do feel like Nene understands now more than ever that Real Housewives of Atlanta check was an easy check, a lucrative check, and one that kept her relevant and kept her with many more opportunities coming down the pipeline. And so having that time, or this time, I think about 2 or so years, probably 3 years at the moment now, in which she has not filmed with the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I think she's had some time to reflect, to realize that show really was the foundation of her success and the foundation of her career, then and now. And so with that being said, this rumor is just not so hard to believe that Nene is ready to make a serious play for her old peach back. And we saw earlier in this year and over the summer as she tried to extend olive branches to Andy, which a lot of fans found odd simply because of the things she had allegedly accused him of doing. So it was very odd that Nene would try to make a play back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise during that time. However, with the lawsuit behind her and behind the network, it seems as if she is ready to make a valid play. One that a lot of skeptics believe is just a waste of time, considering everything she took the network and production through. Which leads me to the next part of this rumor that I could actually see as being true. And it's this. I could definitely see Nene reaching out, if you are to believe these rumors, because it's all speculation at this point. But if it ever came down to it, I definitely could see Nene reaching out to Kenya in order to get in Kenya's good graces so Kenya can make and put in a word for her with the current cast and production. Reason being, when you look at the current cast, Kenya and Candy are the senior most housewives. They are the OG and one is a veteran. And so that brings a lot of pull with production and with the network, but especially with production. Because production look at them pretty much as consultants at this point. They've been on the show long enough to know how to make scenes work, know how to produce other housewives, and they also understand what the fans want and what they need and what they react to. So it's not far-fetched to believe that production really does take suggestions from Candy and Kenya very seriously. Now, I don't think it's anything to a point to where like who stays, who goes, but I do believe and I can see that if scenes need to be produced and producers are trying to produce the scenes, they could very well ask Candy and Kenya, what do you guys think? So for Nene to reach out to Kenya in any time at any point to try to get back on the show is a very smart move. Now, her reaching out to Candy is not so much of a smart move, but I would also say reach out to Candy. But the reason why I say reaching out to Candy is kind of iffy is because what my sources are telling me is that Candy is one of those people who is looking towards the future, and she sees the current cast as being the future faces of the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise, and she allegedly thinks that the network and producers should continue to invest in the current cast to build them up to a place of prominence like former iconic casts of the past. So making a play for Kenya would be very smart, and I could see it actually helping out in some sort. But it brings me to our next part of this rumor that I find very interesting, and it's this. Making a play with Kenya to get back on the show, I think is, as I said, a very smart move that Nene needs in her wheelhouse right now. I think Nene understands that she has to get back on the show if she wants to continue to live or make a lucrative money in the industry. And also, one thing I find very interesting when I was talking to my sources is that, it's a money thing potentially or allegedly, but also it is an image thing. And I think Nene understands, as my sources were telling me, that she understands that she has to be on this show. She has to be in the Bravo universe in order to stay culturally relevant, especially with the Bravo fans. Now, moving forward, how can Nene do that? Because as we've all seen, it's like Nene pretty much not only tore her draws with the network, but also with fans. We oftentimes see this very negative backlash whenever Nene's name is brought up as being brought back to the franchise. Fans, just like how they view Portia, somewhat view Nene in the same way. However, I think Portia's favorability numbers are way lower than Nene's. And so it has to be a very intelligent approach for Nene to get back onto the show. and back into the Bravo universe. So contacting Kenya, as my sources are saying, who's a very smart woman, a very smart businesswoman, and a very smart castmate, probably could give Nene some pointers on how to successfully do that. And I know a lot of people are asking themselves, why would Kenya stick her neck out for Nene in such a way like this? Well, from what my sources are saying, it could be this. If you are believing the rumors or can see the speculation that Nene could at any point ask Kenya to help her get back on the show, Kenya is one of those type of people who, understands and does a lot of things for the betterment of the show. And she understands how show business works, and she understands how reality TV works, so my sources are telling me. So knowing that Nene is good for this show is one reason why I think she would stick her neck out. Because Kenya is what everyone has said, behind the scenes is a team player. So if she ever felt like the show was at a point to where they needed OGs back, or they needed Nene back, then I could see her actually sticking her neck out and making it happen. But the thing is, does the cast really need Nene back at this point as much as she wants to be back? And what my sources are telling me is that, simply put, the current cast is delivering. The drama is solid, the friendships are organic, and the storylines are working. And it doesn't necessarily seem like there is just this overall big need for Nene to return back to the franchise. The same way as my sources are saying, there's just not at the moment this big need for Portia to return to the franchise. And as we've been talking about for some time now, the network has literally moved away from that old school, Real Housewives of Atlanta narrative and drama brand and moved on to something much more organic, something much more real, something a little bit more lighthearted and funny, and not of the dark days of Real Housewives of Atlanta and of other franchises. So, as my sources are saying, it just may not even be a need for Kenya to go out there and stick her neck out to allegedly help Nene get back on the show, because it just simply isn't a need for it. Which brings me back to the last part of this rumor that I find very interesting as well, and it's this. The last thing, kinfolk, is this. If Nene did want to come back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, which I do honestly believe she does, and if she wanted to reach out to Kenya or any of the current ladies to get back, I honestly think her efforts would somewhat be in vain. And I say that because not only do I feel like, and as my sources are saying, there's just no need for her right now, I think that the network and producers are just at the point with Nene to where they finally got her out of their hair, and I don't think they will voluntarily want to put her back into their hair. I just don't see the network seeing Nene being brought back to the franchise is something that is needed and something that is a smart move to make. As my sources are saying and have said, Nene does come off as a liability, a big risk. And that's something you just don't want to do right now as a network, especially when you feel like you have gotten back in the groove of things with the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise. And as my sources have been telling me now for quite some time, it seems like the Real Housewives of Atlanta is back on track, has been restored back to its glory days, and that production finally has a formula they can continue to build off of and be successful with. So bringing Nene in to throw a monkey wrench in that plan, I just don't think it's something that the network and producers may be willing to do at the moment. But kinfolk, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that if you are to believe this rumor and the speculations, if Nene ever reached out to Kenya, do you think it would be smart for Kenya to stick her neck out to help Nene get back to the franchise? Or do you think Kenya should just leave Nene alone altogether and just focus on the current cast of ladies and move forward? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Alright, kinfolk, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And I see you guys over on the next one. Peace.